Oh shit, don't want to hit stuff. Managed to hit the only fin in the aisle. It's literally nothing here. Rip Areno to my diet. Feels bad, man. Don't believe it. People doing this wrong. They're leaving this. That's the one. Oh no, prepper. There we go. That'll do. Yeah, there's still more Ben & Jerry's too. But then on the other side, nothing. Absolutely nothing. Oh man, so I'm in a diet and eat a protein now. Like I really didn't want to already fuck up my diet. But I really didn't have much choice. So I'll probably get 2 of these boxes. That'll give me 2 days to really stock up on some good shit. However, these boxes are great. They actually taste like KFC. And I'm a pro, I'm an expert, an ex-KFC expert. I'm your host, No GoPro Hero, and welcome back to the No Show, episode 11. It's another car edition today. And what am I talking about? I think this is the first, so it's not another car edition. It is the first car edition. I hope you're looking forward to this one. I know I'm not. Anyway, where am I? I'm in a Sainsbury's car park. It's currently 10 o'clock, so there's not many shops that are still open at this time. But yeah, I'm just gonna do my weekly shopping. It's gonna look a little bit like I'm prepping, but I'm not, just because, you know, when you do your meal prep, you're gonna buy a shit ton of meat. That's what I need, a shit ton of meat. And yeah, anyway, that's not that interesting, at least not in the context of what I want to talk about today. That'll be for another video. I actually did want to include that kind of line of thought in this video. I actually had I pretty much had a script ready to go, but I couldn't be bothered to actually film it because it did require a little bit of effort. So instead you get another one take, a beautiful one take. But today has been an interesting day. Today is a first for something else as well. Today is the first for working from home. I mean, China, you should have got your shit together earlier, released this shit much sooner, so that I could have taken advantage of this chaos, this panic. Because I'm not gonna lie, working from home is way better than actually going into the office. I don't know if I'd want to work from home permanently and never go into an office. However, I'm pretty sure I'd be fine at least staying at home 3 to 4 days a week. I think that'd be fine. Maybe 5 days a week might be a bit much, but it's really just because, you know, you can get into the temptation. So, oh, I don't need to go out to work. I just work at home. I just stay at home. I live at home. And you just never leave the house and you become a hermit, which is kind of sad. But if you've got other things going on in your life, I don't think you're at risk of that happening. And fortunately for me, I'm living in a accommodation right now that I'm not just bundled in with random people, where you get in that weird situation where even though you live with people, you never speak to them or interact with them, and then they just kind of end up being a nuisance, and you end up spending more time in your room just to avoid the other people, and you basically won't use the rest of your house. So I mean, yeah, that's even worse situation, where it's bad enough that you're bundled inside the house, but because you're avoiding everyone else in the house, you're actually bundled in your room. That's a fucking terrible situation to be in. But no, I'm in a good place with you know, people I like, and interestingly enough, I haven't really been seeing them much because I've mostly been at work or doing things after work. And even when I have been in, I was like, I'm too busy doing shit, so I never leave my room for the few hours I'm in before I go to sleep. And on the weekends, I don't know. I generally am just relaxing, or I'm hungover, or yeah, I don't generally leave my room much. But that's because I spend so much time outside my room during the week. But now, today, getting my first work from home day felt so good. And I actually just went downstairs. I can't even remember what I was doing. I think I was just filling up a bottle of water or something. And one of my flatmates was there. What was she doing? I think she was just eating some breakfast or something. But up until today, we'd only really maybe had very brief conversation, like a minute or two. But like today, I'm pretty sure um I missed at least a meeting or something because I don't know how long we were talking for, but it must have been over an hour. And it's around lunchtime anyway, so I'm entitled to a 1 hour lunch, even though I fucking hate taking them, and I'll tell you why. But yeah, it was over an hour, I think, just talking. That's kind of interesting. Just being able to have a long form conversation like that, just pretty not sporadic, that's not the right word. Not instantaneous. I'm losing my words now. I'm not good with words. Words are hard. Spontaneous. That's the word. Just have a good spontaneous conversation with someone just in the middle of the day. That was kind of interesting. But that was good. But yeah, apart from that, I felt like I got a lot of work done today, which is good. Because if we had to work from home indefinitely, then they can't track how many hours you're doing. So it's a lot more about, are you delivering the work that they expect you to deliver? Today I didn't actually write any lines of code. So I was just planning all the lines of code I will have to write over the next week or two. So that's how I like to do things. Because I don't know, I think it's a bit of a rookie mistake. It was probably not going to have much context, but actually I can make it work. It's a rookie error to just say you have a task to do, just jump straight into it. Like, let's go. Just jump straight into it and like building shit or doing whatever it is you're supposed to do. I think it's a lot better thing to have a bit of patience and actually spend a lot of time planning so you don't run into random obstacles that you could have easily avoided. You can basically give yourself a little bit of foresight because people say foresight is 2020. Well, not if you open your damn fucking eyes. Well, yeah, well, if you open your eyes and at least try to peer into the future, you're gonna help yourself so much more. Like, yeah, foresight is 20, or hindsight rather, not foresight. Hindsight is 2020. And let's say foresight is, I don't even know how the measurements for how good or shit your eyes are even goes. But let's say that's a little bit worse. Well, you know what? That's still way better than blindfolding yourself and running smack into a wall. Like, we were not doing this voodoo, what was it, Voodoo Children? Is it Voodoo Children Prodigy? But the Pendulum remix of it's got a good music video. Definitely check out the song and the video. Good shit. But before I get digressed, or distracted, before I digress and get distracted, yeah, no, I've already got distracted. I can't even remember what I was saying. Anyway, it's not that important. But working from home is super efficient. And if my work output is what's gonna measure whether I'm gonna get reprimanded or not, then I actually have the ability now to look like I'm not doing anything. For I think today, I put in a long day because I'm probably only gonna do 4 days a week. I mean, I'll be on call for the 5th day, so I won't be writing any code. But like I'll have like my phone out, so in case someone needs to get in contact with me or do something, I'll be there. I'll be around in the place with my laptop, so I can still do work if something comes up urgently. But in terms of work I've planned, I don't think I'll be doing anything because I prefer longer days. So today I'm kind of putting about a 10-hour day. So I prefer doing four like 10-hour days than five 8 and a bit hour days, or how it is, or 5 8 hour days. I think it's just far more efficient with your time. And who doesn't want like a free-ish weekend? A free-ish week? Free-ish day weekend. Fuck. And there are like many reasons why this is far more efficient. And one thing you got to realize is that even if you're not an employee, or you are an employee, rather, I should say, even if you are an employee, you're still a business. I mean, people are like, what? Like, you are. Even if you don't look at it that way, you're still a business. You might not look at it that way, but your employer definitely is. They're looking at you as a business asset or resource, which sounds a bit inhuman, but that's exactly what you are. So, click, click. What you gonna do about it? Well, what you can do about it is to make your position, your disposition, as good as possible. Make your situation, your circumstances as ideal as possible for you, for yourself. Because if you don't do that, you're just gonna get taken advantage of. Because what happens when there's a discount at a store? Well, generally, the whole point of discounts is so more people will buy that particular item. But you don't want to be that discounted item. Because yeah, then everyone will want you, but then you're not actually gonna make much. You're not gonna get a good deal yourself as being the item. So you really want to look out for yourself. And one of those things, if you can get it, is work from home. Now, of course, a large proportion of jobs that's just not even feasible, because there are two main reasons, or two, let's say there's two main outputs, or two main reasons why someone's paying you. The first is produce. What do you produce? What is your output? And that is pretty much the main reason, the most important one, is your output. However, that's not always the case, or that's not why you always get paid. A lot of time, what gets bundled up with that is availability. So I guess one of the easiest ways to demonstrate that is, say, if you're a doctor, sometimes you'll be on call, you'll still be getting paid, but they don't actually need you. So they're paying you to make yourself available, because they can't just say, oh, don't leave town. Just don't leave, don't do anything, and then not pay you for that. It's like, no, you have to kind of sacrifice your life, you sacrifice your plans, you have to still kind of dedicate that time to them, even if it's not 100% time and effort, so they still pay you. And a similar sort of things, like if you're a security guard, like how many times would an average facility get breached, or how many times would a security guard actually really have to do anything? Depending on what facility you're manning, a lot of time probably you're not doing anything. But so your output is very little. Like if you weren't there, probably nothing would change. The reason you're there is for availability reasons. So if someone, needed to gain access to the office, or someone's trying to rob the place, then you'll be the first port of call. So you're there for availability reasons, because you're not useful 90 something percent of the time, but the few percent of the time you are useful, then that's where all the benefit comes from. And a lot of jobs are mostly about produce, but sometimes about availability too. So yeah, that's kind of very painful, especially when your produce is something you have to do in person. So if you're a chef, well, no work from home days for you, unfortunately. Um, but if you're a software engineer, you can produce just as much stuff in the house as in the office. In fact, I argue that you produce more in the house if you're a disciplined person than you would do in the office, because there's less distractions, and there's also other factors that go into it as well. And availability wise, you're not really needed that much as a software engineer. Your availability doesn't need to be that high. Well, maybe if you're more of in a management position, but if you're just in a typical developer role, straight technical role, you don't really actually need you that much availability. I mean, the only availability you might need is people might be messaging you throughout the day on your workspace messaging platform, whatever, and then you just respond. But you don't even need to be available for that. I mean, you have to be able to respond, but you could be at the gym, at a restaurant. You could pretty much be anywhere apart from where at your workstation and still be available enough. Sometimes they will ask you to quickly code something or do something right then because they need it right then, but that doesn't happen very often, and that's the only reason why you probably want to go around with your laptop if you do any of those things. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter. I don't really have to be there in person that much, and it depends for each work. So you know what your job is. You gotta figure it out. And the amount of time I save, I don't have to travel to and fro from work. I don't have to pack up my shit from my house and then transport to work and then and then set it up again and then what do you call it? Pack it all up again and then set up at the house only to repeat that. Like, that's like four necessary steps that I don't have now that I get to work from home. Also, it can be a bit tiring having to move around like that. I mean, sometimes being tired is good if it's like gym or something, but typically speaking, like the kind of commute that people do isn't the good kind. It's not the kind that really gets the heart pumping, that really make them more awake. Is more the type that's just you're kind of already not in the best of moods or the spirits by the time you get to work. So mind, body probably not looking as good on in that regard, and that's not good. And not just that, you're probably not going to sleep as much, which means that your productivity per hour you're actually working is going to drop, because if you're not well rested, your output is just going to be hampered. Depending on what kind of person you are, like you might be the kind of person that doesn't like to work the traditional 9 to 5, because you might be way more productive really early in the morning, or you might be way more productive like later in the day. And when you work remote, you kind of have that flexibility to do that because no one's staring over your shoulder, which means you can shift your hours around far more easily, as long as you're always make yourself as available as you need to be. Because like for me, like I find that I can be super productive in the morning, but the window for me, getting into the groove is very small. Like unless I'm getting into code or doing my work in the first maybe 10-15 minutes of the day, maybe 30 tops, and my mind's already wandering. I'm already going to be distracted, and it will take me like 2 hours again to like focus to get to peak potential, peak productivity. But if like I wake up and I get straight onto code, then I can actually get into that peak productivity state much sooner. So that's far more efficient for me then. And all of the little bits and pieces all added up together, I probably, instead of having to work an 8-hour day, could probably work closer to a 5-hour day and still achieve the same amount of work. Maybe even closer to a 4-hour day. I'll probably get twice as much as work done at home. And then also, I like to get into a groove. So one problem with, when you work in office and the office shuts is that by the time I'm really getting into things, then, yeah, they're locking up, time to go. But I kind of, take a little bit of time to ramp up, unless I'm jumping on this code straight in the morning. But even once I am ramped up, then I sustain that for a really long period of time. And I really like that because I get to work at optimum output, like, the optimum efficiency point of your engine, so to say. And that's really cool. And generally speaking, I think I should, I don't know, how would I put it the best way possible, but I think generally speaking, if working 4 10-hour days or 3 12-hour days or so will achieve the same thing or way more than working 5 days, then what the hell am I doing? Like, that's just a stupid way to spend your time otherwise. However, you got this stuff imposed on you when you go to work. And for some reason, let's say one day I'm just not feeling it, I feel tired, or because that does happen, usually I'm good to go. I'm not really a slacker like that, but sometimes you just have a really bad off day, and you can say, yeah, force yourself to go discipline, but sometimes it's just better to not, just relax and chill, and then you'll be better the next day. Because just forcing yourself to do work when you're really not in that zone, you'll probably get nothing done anyway, or nothing that useful. Interestingly enough, in software, you can actually make some mistakes that will actually end up costing you more time than if you've never done anything in the first place in the long run. So, I mean, there are all these interesting factors and stuff to it. And yeah, it's kind of sad that it took something like coronavirus to really make it more of a possibility, because in software engineering, working remotely isn't really that common. And I think the only advantage to basically working in an office is, well, I guess there's two. One is um apparently face-to-face communication is better. Now, I'm gonna agree that face-to-face communication does tend to be better. However, I don't think that face-to-face communication really offsets the amount of time wasted having to do it, and instead of fitting the conversations around like the actual work supposed to be doing. Because usually communication, if you don't know, people always say, oh, communication is a good fit at work. It's like, no, it's not. All right, so you have to communicate, that's the thing. However, usually when you have things like that, you have to do like communication, you want to do as little of it as possible. I'm not trying to say that you shouldn't do it. I'm trying to say that you should set up your systems and your work processes in a way that people don't need to communicate, because that's potentially wasted time. If people know what they're doing and people don't tread on each other's toes, and they just almost autonomously like know how to groove with each other. So imagine like a really well-oiled sports team. Like, they probably don't communicate that much verbally, but they just know each other, and they just, I don't know, they almost have the rhythm and the, what would you call it, the not the symbiosis. I am so bad at words today, or more like every day. The synergy, yeah. So when you have that synergy, that's what you want. And it's got to do with the people, but it's got a lot more to do with the processes you instill in your workplace. Like, if you have a good workplace process, then people won't need to communicate as much, and stuff like that. So I do argue that, one problem with face-to-face communication is that it's kind of disruptive, whereas with text-based communication, someone messages you something, you don't generally have to respond straight away, which means that you don't lose train of thought. If you're really struggling with this one thing, you really want to get it out of the way, you're holding a lot of stuff in your head, you can complete that, and you don't have someone looming over your shoulder like, you ready yet? You ready? Yeah? 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 Yeah, 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 yeah. I want to say something. I want to say something. You ready? You ready? Ah, but yeah, I don't know. Those are my 2 cents on the situation anyway. It's crazy. Oh, wow. I managed to ramble on for over 20 minutes. I did record earlier on, but I had to throw that take away because it was so shit. It was, you can imagine how bad it was, because I don't edit or do anything nice, and it's not fluent anyway. But that episode was so much less fluent than anything I had ever made, or recorded rather. It was just, I was like, what else? What else? I've lost track of, oh fuck, I've driven the wrong way. Oh no, this is a bus only. Oh shit. It was kind of like that. But yeah, I think I'm probably gonna call it in about 2 minutes. Just get about a 25-minute episode going. But yeah, I mean, coronavirus, very interesting. And I wonder how the weekends are gonna be like, if the young peoples are still gonna party or so. Because I think on the Reddit London Social Club, like they've postponed all in-person meetings, so they're doing the online meeting groups now, which is kind of weird. I don't know. The whole point of these social groups is that you're supposed to get out and do stuff in person. Like the whole online meeting groups just weird. Like I'll just play games. If I was just gonna talk to people online, I'll just play games, or something. But I don't know. I'm not gonna bash it. They'll probably make it work somehow. But of course, I'm still living with people who might want to party, have some fun on weekends, not just hunker down in the bedroom and say, no contact. You stay away from me. Nah, but should be alright. But yeah, I don't know. It's a kind of interesting period. And I don't know if this will be an interesting week, apart from working from home, which I've talked about or banged on about that to death. We will see. There's some other content about this week that I did have scripted, which I did mention before. However, that's just going to be pushed into next week. And that makes next week episode 12, which is the penultimate episode of this season. And I'm still way behind on schedule on making season 2, because I'm trying to do a lot of that heavy lifting up front, just so I don't end up doing these random ramblings. But with the new work regime, the work from home, I'll have so much more time. Ideally, I should be able to take the whole Friday off pretty much, apart from just being available to answer messages. I'll probably use that whole day just to write stuff and to maybe even do a bit of filming. Yeah, that'll be good. But yeah, we'll see. One thing that would be good is that if the people living with are down to drinking, then that's probably better. I much prefer drinking indoors than going to clubs and shit, because first, this is really expensive in London, and like second, I just hate the journey home when you're tired as fuck and as oh shit, that was still like a 45-minute home or an expensive Uber/taxi home. But then when you're drinking it, it's like, oh man, I'm wanged, I'm wasted. Then you might be able to stay up long enough to order food, and if not, no problem, you just jump straight into bed, and by the time you wake up all monged out, then you can get food in the morning. Anyway, I'm rambling on so long. Anyway, cool. Thank you for tuning in to episode 11 of the No Show, and catch me next time, where maybe I'll have a proper episode for you, probably not, but see ya.